Bakit na Senator Soto? Hindi, kaya start. Okay na? Start na? The 76th session of the Senate in the first regular session of the 17th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Joseph Victor G. Ejercito will lead the chamber in prayer.
Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Heavenly Father, as we resume the session today, I pray that we would be intentional in pursuing good advocacies and enacting compassionate, meaningful, and just laws for the people. Lord, I ask that you bless the work of our hands. Enable us to be sensitive in meeting the needs of the Filipinos, particularly in filling the gap within the sectors of housing, labor, health, education, social services, transportation, and in our economy. In light of the Labor Day celebration yesterday, I also pray that you would bless the millions of Filipino workers in the country and around the world. Bless the families of the overseas Filipino workers, the unemployed, and those still seeking greener pastures. We ask for your abundant provision for every Filipino family seeking to provide comfortable living for their children. Here in the Senate, feed us with your abundant grace, strength, and wisdom as we joyfully fulfill our legislative duties. At the end of each day, may you be glorified with all of our accomplishments. We ask this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 16 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 75th session, Wednesday, March 15, 2017, and consider the same as approved.
Is there any objection to the motion? There being none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to acknowledge guests of the Senate. We have guests from the Office of Senator Ontiveros, Binibining Pilipinas International 2016, Miss International 2016, Kaya Lizeth Versosa, Miss Antoinette Tos, Miss Jerica Ejercito, the Philippine Psychiatric Association, Youth for Mental Health Coalition, the Student Council Alliance of the Philippines, also visitors of Senator Zubiri, the barangay chairpersons of the different barangays in Marawi City, Lanao del Sur, Alniam Magoyag, Farudna Macabando, Ray Salam Tindug, and the Vice Mayor Denver Chua of Cavite City. Also, would like to acknowledge our guests from the Office of the Solicitor General, Assistant Solicitor General Rex Pascual, SG Eric Panga, Renan Ramos, Elaine Coro, Thomas Naragan, Angelita Miranda, and Edith Dizon, all Assistant Solicitor Generals, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome them.
Welcome to all of our guests and also to all those in the gallery. Welcome to the Philippine Senate.
Mr. President, before I move for the reference of business, to avail of the presence of the members of the Senate, with the permission of the Chamber, I move to consider for third reading Senate Bill 1354 under Committee Report number 41.
Before I process the motion, can the chair request for silence as we are going to vote on third reading certain measures. So is there any objection to consider Senate Bill number 1354 for third reading? There being none, the motion is approved.
May we request the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
Secretary, please do so.
An act establishing a national mental health policy for the purpose of enhancing the delivery of integrated mental health services, promoting and protecting persons utilizing psychiatric, neurologic, and psychosocial health services, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes.
Mr. President, printed copies of the measure were distributed last March 22, 2017, thereby complying with the 3-day rule. I therefore move to vote on third and final reading, Senate Bill 1354 through a roll call vote.
Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. We proceed with the roll call vote for Senate Bill number 1354. Secretary, please conduct the roll call vote.
Roll call vote of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Hunasan, Hontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Soberi, Senate President Clemente.
20 lahat. I count 20. How many senators on the floor? Nineteen lang? 19 lang? Okay. With 19 affirmative votes, 0 negative, and no one abstaining, Senate Bill number 1354 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, I move to consider for third reading Senate Bill 1.
Majority Leader, Senator Ontiveros is raising her hand.
Senator Hontiveros wishes to be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Ontiveros is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Majority Leader. Just a brief manifestation on the passage of the Mental Health Act of 2017. Mr. President, today is indeed an historic day. After years of being hidden in the dark and of being talked about only in muted whispers, mental health, an important public health issue that affects every one of us, is finally getting the recognition it deserves. With today's passage of Senate Bill 1354, or the Mental Health Act of 2017, we take a giant step forward towards a more progressive and stronger system for ensuring the mental health and well-being of not only those suffering from mental health conditions, but of all Filipinos. Through the Mental Health Act, we will have stronger mechanisms to ensure the protection of rights of individuals suffering from mental health conditions. We will also have a more robust health service delivery system that integrates mental health services at the community level and enhances the capacity of our government hospitals in providing high-level care. This act will likewise help educate the public on mental health to reduce stigma and discrimination by integrating mental health in the school curriculum and mainstreaming mental health programs in academic institutions and in the workplace. Indeed, Mr. President, it gives me immense pride and honor to be part of the Senate which passed this important piece of legislation and to be its principal sponsor. I would like to recognize my fellow sponsors, namely Senators Angara, Aquino, Legarda, Trillanes, Villanueva, and Senator Soto, the majority floor leader who ably aided the prompt passage of this bill. I'd also like to thank Senator J.V. Ejercito, the chair of the Committee on Health and Demography, for recognizing the work that had been done on this measure and in supporting us. I'd also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to my fellow mental health advocates, including the youth, the health professionals, the academicians, the people who have experienced mental health conditions and their loved ones, the government agencies, other non-government organizations, Mrs. Kylie, Antoinette, and longtime kasama Ika. Your effort made all of this happen. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. As we take this crucial step in fully realizing our collective aspirations for a mental health law, I call on our colleagues in the House of Representatives to hasten the passage of the Mental Health Act from their end. Again, I cannot overemphasize the urgency of passing this measure. It's high time that we shine some light on the issue of mental health. Lastly, Mr. President, sa lahat ng hindi makatarungang sinabihan ng siraulo, lukaret, maluwag ang tornilyo, may sayad, baliw, abnormal, may topak, imo, praning, sinto-sinto at buang, dahil sa maling pag-unawa sa issue sa mental health, para po sa inyo itong batas na ito. No one should suffer silently alone in the dark and solitarily fight this invisible war. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a matter of fact, now that Senator Ontiveros mentioned it, we'd like to thank her for principally sponsoring the measure, which was principally authored by this representation as Senate Bill number 9, which emanated into Senate Bill 1354. Thank you, Mr. President. Now, I move to consider for third reading Senate Bill 1355 under Committee Report number 42.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
May we request the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
Secretary.
An act adopting innovation as vital component of the country's development policies to drive inclusive development, promote the growth and national competitiveness of micro, small, and medium enterprises, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes.
Mr. President, printed copies of the measure were distributed last March 22, 2017, thereby complying with the 3-day rule. I therefore move to vote and third and final reading, Senate Bill 1355 through a roll call vote.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. We proceed to the roll call vote for Senate Bill number 1355.
Roll call vote of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Pinay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 22 affirmative votes, no negative votes, Senate Bill number 1355 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, I move to consider for third reading Senate Bill number 14 under Committee Report number 30.
Any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
May we ask Secretary to read the title of the measure?
An act adjusting the amount involved, value of property or damage on which a penalty is based, and the fines under Act number 3815 as amended, otherwise known as the revised Penal Code.
Mr. President, printed copies of the measure were distributed last April 3, 2017, thereby complying with the 3-day rule. I therefore move to vote on third and final reading, Senate Bill number 14, through a roll call vote.
Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Let us now proceed to vote via roll call on Senate Bill number 14.
Roll call vote of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 21 affirmative votes, no negative votes, Senate Bill number 14 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a 1-minute suspension?
Any objection? There being none, session suspended.
We ready to resume, Mr. President?
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, before the reference of business, I move that we recognize Senator Risa Ontiveros to speak on a matter of public interest.
Is there any objection? Okay, there being none, Senator Ontiveros is recognized to speak on a matter of public interest.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. Sa tuwing umiikot ako sa mga probinsya, lalo na sa mga malalayo at liblib na lugar, ulit-ulit kong nadidinig ang isang daing, kakapusan ng serbisyong pangmedikal at kakulangan ng doktor. Hindi pa man ako senador noon, isa sa mga usapin na pinangako ko sa aking sarili na isusulong ay ang usapin ng rural health. Tiyak ko na ang ating chairperson sa Committee on Health na si Senator J.V. Ejercito ay ganito din ang saloobin. Plain and simple, we need more health professionals to go to the countryside and tend to the health needs of our fellow Filipinos who live far away from the gleaming hospitals of the capital. And when we do get health professionals who, despite the high cost of medical education in this country, are willing to serve our poor and marginalized kababayan in rural areas, they deserve more than accolades, Mr. President. They deserve full protection. Kung kaya nga po, Mr. President, I rise today to call the attention of our government to a troubling emerging pattern that, if left unchecked, threatens to undermine all our efforts to improve the health status of our poor and marginalized compatriots in rural areas. Exactly 2 weeks ago, on April 18, Dr. Shahid Orjaja Sinolinding, an ophthalmologist in Cotabato City, and his companion were gunned down in his clinic by a yet-to-be-identified assailant who pretended to be his patient. While there has been some progress in the investigation, we are nowhere near to uncovering the truth behind this incident and bringing the perpetrator to justice. As a practicing eye physician, Dr. Jaja was known for his generosity. A native of North Cotabato, he was said to have treated the eye problems of thousands of poor patients from the different provinces of the Autonomous Region for Muslim Mindanao for free. He volunteered in several ARM-sponsored outreach programs, reaching out to and serving the poor and marginalized communities in the region who rarely had access to health services. Dr. Jaja, as he is fondly known, had touched many lives, and if not for this deplorable act, would have surely touched and served a lot more. Nakikiramay po ako sa kanyang mga naulila, ang kanyang pamilya, mga kaibigan, at mga kapatid sa ARM na nawalan ng isang kapita-pitaganang manggagamot. What is even more tragic, Mr. President, is that Dr. Jaja is the second barrio doctor to be murdered in the space of 2 months, following the killing of Dr. Dreyfus or Dre Perlas, a 31-year-old doctor from Aklan province, who, after his 2-year stint in the Doctor to the Barrios program of the Department of Health, chose to stay as the municipal health officer of Sapad Town, a 5th-class municipality in Lanao del Norte, out of a genuine desire to continue serving the community that he had come to love. Dr. Dre was brutally gunned down while riding a motorcycle on his way home from a medical mission, and his attackers remain at large. I had the privilege, Mr. President, of meeting Dr. Dre when I became the graduation speaker of his Doctors to the Barrios batch 3 years ago. These doctors could have gone the usual route of establishing a profitable medical practice in the big cities, but instead, they chose a life of service, offering their talents and skills to help in healing poor Filipinos in communities where healthcare is underprovided. Meeting a group of young doctors with infectious enthusiasm and passion to serve communities in far-flung areas was a moving experience. And Dr. Dre and his batchmates left me feeling both grateful to them and more hopeful about the future. Mr. President, These acts of violence committed against our doctors and other health professionals serving rural areas must be condemned in the strongest possible terms. It's imperative that the perpetrators of these heinous acts are caught and be made to face our justice system as swiftly as possible, given their far-reaching implications. We call upon our law enforcement agencies to act quickly for the speedy resolution of these cases. I cannot begin to imagine the anguish of their loved ones. Nakikiisa po ako, Mr. President, sa mga inulila nila. But there is a fundamental point I want to make this afternoon, Mr. President. The attacks on Dr. Jaja and Dr. Dre are attacks not just on these individual doctors. They're attacks on the communities which depend on these doctors and health professionals for their healthcare needs. They're attacks on the entire health sector and our collective aspirations to achieve better health for all Filipinos. Mabigat ang mga sakripisyo na dinaranas ng ating mga health workers. We salute their silent sacrifice in helping solve our country's health problems, and I believe we should do more to look out for them. The gravity of these murders and the heroism of the health workers who serve our communities must be put in their proper context. For the longest time, the country has experienced a shortage of health workers. The current ratio of health worker to population, according to the DOH, stands at around 17.2 health workers per 110,000 people, way short of the ideal ratio of 44 health workers per 10,000 people. 7 out of 10 Filipinos die without having been seen by a doctor. The poorest quintile of our population will have to travel more than 40 minutes to get to a health facility. The situation is more acute in the rural areas, given the maldistribution of health professionals. The majority of them concentrate in urban areas where there are more lucrative opportunities or even overseas, leaving our health facilities in the rural areas undermanned and the public health workers there overutilized and overburdened. Mr. President, kaunti na nga lang ang doktor at mga health workers na naninilbihan sa kanayunan ay hindi pa natin sila maalagaan ng tama. Paano natin sasabihin sa ating mga doktor, mga nurse, mga dentista, kumadrona at barangay health worker at iba pang mga health worker na maglingkod sa mga mamamayan sa probinsya at mga pamayanan kung ang pamahalaan ay di pa natin sila kayang protektahan at pangalagaan? Mr. President, before we went on recess last month, I filed Senate Resolution number 310, which sought to look into the death of Dr. Dre Perlas, and together with our esteemed colleague, Senator Dick Gordon, manifested on the floor our indignation over his death. Last week, I filed Senate Resolution 321, which similarly seeks to condemn this deplorable act, and more importantly, to conduct an inquiry on the deaths of these 2 barrio doctors with the objective of identifying measures and mechanisms to ensure the safety and well-being of all health workers, particularly those serving in rural areas. Ako po'y nananawagan sa aking mga kasamahan sa Senado na mas maging pursigido pa sa paghahanap ng hustisya para kina Dr. Jaja at Dr. Dre at sa pangangalaga sa kapakanan ng ating mga manggagawang pangkalusugan. Mr. President, let's take better care of those who are taking care of us. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we refer the speech of the distinguished lady to the Committee on Public Order.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Okay, Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Sabiti? Yes, it's recognized.
It's not an objection, Mr. President, just a bit of housekeeping. Mr. President, may we instruct personnel in charge of the building. It's a bit warm in the Senate, not only in the plenary session hall, but also in our offices. It's very difficult itself to listen to our colleagues, speak when a lot of people are speaking. It's even worse when it's very warm and not conducive to a conducive atmosphere for legislation. So that's just an appeal, Mr. President. Maybe we can ask our maintenance people to check on this. It's very, I know it's warm outside, but I'm hoping that the Senate by now would have a better air conditioning system. Thank you, Mr. President.
Secretary, can we act on the
Or maybe we need to move to a new Senate, Mr.
on
President.
the complaint of Senator Subiri? Anong tawag dito? Question of yeah, that is a question of privilege. Which yes, because it affects the effectivity of a senator. So we have to address that question. But those who are talking did not hear what you said. They're still talking.
I concur, Mr. President.
Okay, the motion of the majority leader is to proceed with the reference of business. Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Secretary, please.
Messages from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 13 March 2017, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House Bill number 5063 entitled An Act Granting the Pangasinan Gulf Waves Network Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations throughout the Philippines. House Bill number 5064, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Subic Broadcasting Corporation under Republic Act number 7511, entitled An Act Granting the Subic Broadcasting Corporation a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting station in the Philippines and for other purposes. 5175, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Beta Broadcasting System, Inc. and the Republic Act number 8026, entitled An Act Granting the Beta Broadcasting System Corporation a franchise to construct, operate, and maintain radio broadcasting stations in the island of Luzon and for other purposes. 5176, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Saraga Integrated and Management Corporation and the Republic Act number 7478, entitled An Act Granting the Saraga Integrated Management Corporation of the Philippines a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines and for other purposes. 5177, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Infocom Communications Network, Incorporated, under Republic Act number 7301, entitled An Act Granting Infocom Communications Network a franchise to construct, establish, operate, and maintain mobile radio systems such as radio paging systems, cellular phone systems, personal communication network, and tracked radio systems within and without the Philippines for a period of 25 years and for other purposes as amended by Republic Act number 7940.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
4857, an act establishing a multi-species marine hatchery in the municipality of Perris, province of Quezon, and appropriating funds therefore. 4858, an act establishing a multi-species marine hatchery in the municipality of Calawag, province of Quezon, and appropriating funds therefore. 4859, an act establishing a multi-species marine hatchery in the municipality of Plaridel, province of Quezon, and appropriating funds therefore. 4860, an act establishing a multi-species marine hatchery in the municipality of Ginayangan, province of Quezon, and appropriating funds therefore. 4861, an act establishing a multi-species marine hatchery in the municipality of Alabat, province of Quezon, and appropriating funds therefore. 4862, an act establishing a multi-species marine hatchery in the city of Ligao, province of Albay, and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Food and Finance.
4923, an act dividing Barangay Pampanga in the city of Davao into 3 distinct and independent barangays to be known as Barangay Pampanga, Barangay Alfonso Ang Leonto Sr., and Barangay V. Hison. 4927, an act creating Barangay Aper Pugaan in the municipality of Bitsaan, Ramain, province of Lanao del Sur. 4937, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Care in the city of Tarlac, province of Tarlac. 4938, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Poblacion 3 in the municipality of Villanueva, province of Misamis Oriental. 4940, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Liwon in the municipality of Asipolo, province of Ifugao. 4942, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Pudo in the municipality of Natunin Mountain Province. 4943, an act dividing Barangay Kanumay in the city of Valenzuela into 2 distinct and independent barangays to be known as Barangay Kanumay West and Barangay Kanumay East.
To the Committees on Local Government and Electoral Reforms and People's Participation.
4896, an act creating a new district engineering office in the 3rd Legislative District of the province of Zamboanga del Norte and appropriating funds therefore. 4947, an act renaming the road traversing barangays San Jose, Tolentino West, Tolentino East, Francisco, Songay West, Songay East, Songay East, Irohin West, Irohin Central, Irohin East, and Dapdap West in the city of Tagaytay, province of Cavite, to Isaac o Tolentino Avenue.
To the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
4895, an act transferring the location of the Sorsogon 2nd District Engineering Office from Bulan, Sorsogon to Gubat, Sorsogon, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 9689, otherwise known as an act establishing the Sorsogon 2nd District Engineering Office in the province of Sorsogon and appropriating funds therefore. 4946, an act renaming Panglao Island Circumferential Road traversing barangays Pangnan, Bilisan, Look, Poblacion, Danao, Tawala, Bolod, Libaong in the municipality of Panglao and barangays Totolan, Songkulan, Tabalong, Bingag, Dao, San Isidro, Biking 1, Biking 2, Katarman, Maya, Kabak, Poblacion and Union in the municipality of Dawis as Anos Ponasier Circumferential Road.
Dawis
Panglao.
To the Committee on Public Works.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 14 March 2017 it concurred with the Senate amendments to the following House bills. 4631, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Republic Broadcasting System Incorporated, presently known as GMA Network, Inc., amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7252, entitled an act granting the Republic Broadcasting System, Inc., a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines. 4637, an act extending for 25 years the franchise granted to Smart Communications, Inc., formerly Smart Information Technologies, Inc., amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7294, entitled an act granting Smart Information Technologies, Inc., a franchise to establish, install, maintain, lease, and operate integrated telecommunications, computer, electronic services, and stations throughout the Philippines for public, domestic, and international telecommunications and for other purposes.
To the archives.
Bills on first reading. 1398, an act establishing the Linangan ng Likhang Bayan Institute for Living Traditions to ensure the protection, promotion, and development of the country's communal traditions, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 10066 or the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009 and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance.
Committee report. Committee report number 58, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Finance on Senate Bill number 1399, with Senators Richard J. Gordon, Lacson, and Legarda as authors thereof, entitled An Act Establishing the Police Law Enforcement Courts, granting this original jurisdiction over violations of constitutional rights and PNP rules of engagement committed by the police, amending Batas Pambansa Bilang 129 as amended, otherwise known as the Judiciary Act of 1980, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill number 1274, sponsor Senator Richard J. Gordon.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Additional reference of business, message of the President of the Philippines. Letter of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte dated 3 March 2017, submitting for the Senate's consideration the convention between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income, which was signed on 11 December 2000 in Manila, Philippines.
To the Committee on Foreign Relations.
Bills on first reading, 1400, an act providing for a comprehensive addiction and recovery program, introduced by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
1401, an act providing for the prevention and treatment of drug and alcohol abuse among high-risk youth, Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Youth.
1402, an act proclaiming the rights and obligations of patients, providing a grievance mechanism thereof and for other purposes, by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development.
1403, an act establishing a Center for Autism and for other purposes, by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality and Finance.
1405, an act providing for the establishment of barangay drug stores, otherwise known as Butika sa Barangay, and for other purposes, Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Local Government.
1406, an act mandating the Department of Health to provide at least one health worker in every barangay, increasing their salaries and benefits, and for other purposes, by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Local Government and Finance.
1407, an act to promote rural health by providing for an accelerated program for the construction of a potable water supply system in every barangay in the country within 3 years, by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Public Works and Finance.
1408, an act amending sections 6, 22, 23, 24, 25, 31, 32, 33, 34, 79, 84, 86, 99, 100, 101, 106, 107, 108, 109, 113, 116, 148, 149, 155, 232, 237, 249, 288, creating new sections. 148-A, 237-A, 264-A, and 264-B, and repealing sections 35 and 62, all under Republic Act number 8424, otherwise known as the National Internal Revenue Code, as amended and for other purposes by Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
1409, an act to further strengthen the office of the Solicitor General by providing for its powers and functions and redefining, expanding, and rationalizing its organization, thereby amending Republic Act number 9417 and repealing Republic Act number 2327, Executive Order numbers 1 and 2, series of 1986, and all related laws, and appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes by Senator Ligarda.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1410, an act granting hazard pay to regional trial court judges during their incumbency and appropriating funds therefore by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy Binay.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
1411, an act creating the Benham Rice Development Commission, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes by Senator Trillanes IV.
To the Committees on Economic Affairs and Finance.
1412, an act abolishing the imposition of irrigation service fees and such other similar or related fees from beneficiaries of irrigation systems funded and constructed by or under the administration of the National Irrigation Administration, amending for the purpose certain sections of Republic Act number 3601, Presidential Decree number 552, and Presidential Decree number 1702 by Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Food and Finance.
1413, an act recognizing Everest Academy as an educational institution of international character, granting certain prerogatives to hasten its growth as such, and for other purposes by Senator Lacson.
To the Committee on Education, Arts and Culture.
Resolutions, Senate Resolution number 334, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the suspicious maritime activities of People's Republic of China in Binham Rice, and the failure of the President to disclose to the Secretary of the Department of National Defense communications with said foreign government affecting national security, introduced by Senator Laila M. De Lima.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security and Foreign Relations.
Resolution number 335, resolution expressing the profound sympathy and sincere condolences of the Senate on the death of Honorable Leticia Ramos Yahani, former Senator, 1987-1998, and Senate President pro tempore 1993-1996, introduced by Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III.
To the Archives.
Resolution number 336, resolution congratulating and expressing the full support of the Senate on the Philippines to curator Joselina Cruz and artists Lani Maestro and Manuel Ocampo in light of their representation as the official national entry of the country to the Biennial Arte 2017, introduced by Senator Ligarda.
To the Committee on Rules.
Senate Resolution number 337, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation to ascertain the status and quality of implementation of laws providing for special protection of children, including but not limited to Republic Acts number 7610, 9208, 9262, 9344 and 9775 by Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
Number 338, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the alleged corruption in the Philippine Coconut Authority, introduced by Senator Pangilinan.
To the Committees on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations and Agriculture and Food.
Second, additional reference of business. Message of the President of the Philippines. Letter of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte dated 31 March 2017, submitting for the Senate's consideration the agreement between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the United Mexican States for the avoidance of double taxation with respect to taxes on income and the prevention of fiscal evasion, which was signed on 17 November 2015 in Manila, Philippines.
To the Committee on Foreign Relations.
Bills on first reading. 1414, an act instituting exclusive education through the establishment of inclusive education learning resource centers for children and youth within special needs in all public schools divisions, providing for standards and guidelines and appropriating funds, therefore, by Senator Paulo Benigno Bamakino IV.
To the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, and Finance.
Resolutions. 339, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the proposal of the President to postpone the 2017 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections and for the President to appoint barangay officials or officers in charge once the term of the incumbents expire, by Senator Laila M. De Lima.
To the Committees on Local Government and Electoral Reforms and People's Participation.
340, a resolution directing the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the increased importation of high fructose corn syrup in the country and its impact on the domestic sugar industry and public health, by Senator Paulo Benigno Bamakino IV.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Food and Trade, Commerce and Entrepreneurship.
342, resolution urging the Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and other appropriate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the accuracy of the Drug Watch list being used as reference by the Philippine National Police in light of the administration's war on drugs and on the mechanisms employed in determining which names are to be included in the said list, taking into consideration the murder of Remat Siapo, the alleged Palit Olo incidents, and other reports of mistaken identity, with the end in view of ensuring that no person shall be killed due to invalidated and unverified information, and that all affected persons are afforded of their human rights, by Senator Trillanes IV.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Justice and Human Rights.
343, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Science and Technology to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the collection, dissemination, and use of scientific data of the PhilBox to guide mitigation, preparedness, and response to the hazards and impacts of earthquakes, by Senator Paulo Benigno Bamakino IV.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and National Defense and Security.
344, resolution directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the plans and initiatives of government to maximize the benefits of developments in artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies for the Filipino people, by Senator Paulo Benigno Bamakino IV.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
345, resolution urging the Senate Committee on National Defense and Security and other appropriate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the illegal occupation of the armed forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police housing units in Bulacan by members of the Kalipunan ng Damayang Mahihirap, Kadamay, with the intention of ensuring that the benefits afforded by law to uniformed personnel are not hampered and or inadvertently awarded to alleged communist-led groups, and to look into the national security implications of the said takeover by the aforementioned alleged communist-led urban pork organization with the intention of preventing any potential acts of subversion against the state and ensuring the enactment of remedial legislation to prevent the use of force and violence by groups seeking housing assistance from the government, and ensuring that adequate deterrence and or measures are in place to prevent similar recurrence in the future, by Senator Trillanes IV.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security and Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement.
Resolution 346, resolution directing the Committees on Public Services and Public Works to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the recent bus accident in Nueva Ecija and look into the road safety policies and regulations being implemented by our government agencies, with the end in view of improving road safety standards and protecting the lives of millions of passengers and pedestrians, by Senator Emmanuel Manny Pacquiao.
To the Committees on Public Works and Public Services.
347, resolution directing the Senate Committees on Public Order and Health to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the killings of Dr. Shahid Jaja Sinolinding, with the end in view of enacting measures to ensure the safety and well-being of physicians and other health workers serving in rural communities, by Senator Risa Hontiveros.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Health and Demography.
348, a resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the alleged operation of a secret jail cell at the Raksabago Police Station in Tondo, Manila, to protect the rights of those under custodial investigation or detention by the Philippine National Police, by Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Justice and Human Rights. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1280 under Committee Report Number 22.
Is there any objection? There being none, we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 1280 under Committee Report number 22.
Mr. President, this is the measure amending BP 68, or the Corporation Code of the Philippines. The parliamentary status of the measure is that we have already terminated the period of amendments, interpellations, interpellations. So may we therefore move to open the period of amendments. Now, this being a substitute bill, I move to open the period of individual amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, we are now in the period for individual amendments.
For the individual amendments, Mr. President, may we recognize the sponsor, the chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, Revision of Codes and Laws, Senator Franklin Drilon.
Senator Drilon is recognized.
Just a slight correction, Mr. President, we're no longer the chairman of the
Former-
committee, former chairman.
former-
And we are continuing the sponsorship as we started it as chairman.
Correct. I stand corrected, Mr. President. Former chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Mr. President, in accordance with Rule 29, Section 82, Paragraph 2 of the Rules of the Senate, this representation seeks to amend by substitution Senate Bill number 1280 under Committee Report number 22. The substitute bill, Mr. President,
How many days?
which includes the amendments of Senator De Lima, Villar, and Recto, codifies the other provisions of Batas Pambansa number 68, which are still considered as good law, but were not included in Senate Bill number 1280. The records will bear me out. As indicated in the journal, in our journal on page 882, dated January 31, 2017, that in the course of the interpellation of Senator De Lima on January 31 of this year, this representation manifested that during the period of amendments, he intends to submit a substitute bill containing and incorporating all the sections of the present Corporation Code which were not included in the committee report, and to change the title to the Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, thereby expressly repealing Batas Pambansa bilang 68 in its entirety. With this substitute bill, Mr. President, we will have only one cohesive and continuous bill containing all the sections of BP 68, as well as the amendments and the new provisions introduced under the committee report. We are, for the record, incorporating the following untouched provisions, and please put that in quotations for the record, and have retained the original text of Batas Pambansa bilang 68 in the following sections. Sections 1 to 5, Section 9, Section 16, Sections 20 to 21, Section 31, Section 34, Section 39, Section 41, Section 44, Section 45, Section 52, Sections 54 to 57, Section 60, Section 61, Section 63, Section 64 to Section 73, Section 76, Section 80, Sections 82 to 88, Section 90, Section 91, Section 95 to 106, Section 108 to 117, Sections 123, Section 124, Section 125, Section 127 to 138. If there are changes, Mr. President, in the sections which we enumerated, these are only changes in style, except for two provisions where the amendments are intended to harmonize the provisions with the amendments already introduced in the committee reports. These are the amendments to Section 43, which simply recognizes the new policy of allowing electronic sending of notices to stockholders or members. And second, Section 107 is deleted to remove the requirement of a prior endorsement of the Department of Education prior to incorporation of educational institutions. This is consistent with the changes introduced in the committee report, reducing the number of steps for incorporation to promote the ease of doing business and improve the Philippine ranking in the annual survey conducted by the World Bank. Mr. President, in compliance with the rules, we have furnished all members of the chamber with the text of the substitute bill. Mr. President, the substitute bill consists of 130 pages and is 1 inch thick. We have it here. Mr. President, please do not extend the Lenten season by requiring this representation to read each provision of the amendment. Otherwise, baka po abutan tayo ng Hunyo, nagbabasa pa po ako ng amendments on the floor. So with your permission, Mr. President, and the permission of the chamber and the majority leader, may we move that the amendment by substitution of Senate Bill 1280 be considered as read into today's record. After our colleagues have gone over the proposed changes, we will formally move for the approval page by page of the amendments. And so we are submitting this, Mr. President. Yes,
Is the sponsor accurate with the section numbers that he cited? Because I heard you mention section 43, and then I looked at it, it's about the power to declare dividends, but you were mentioning electronic filing, so
I'm sorry.
there must be,
Yes,
there must
I'm
be
sorry,
something.
yes, Your Honor. I misread my notes. It's actually section 42.
Oh, so I was just randomly checking.
Yes, only that, Mr. President. Anyway, we were not seeking the approval this afternoon. It is just reading it into the record, and whatever amendments may be introduced by our colleagues, we will go over it and accordingly act on it, accept it. And
May I move for a minute suspension,
Any
Mr. President?
objection, there be none, session suspended.
Page by page natin.
babasahin niya.
Hindi, individual. Individual amendment. Ang sabi nga sa, ano mo, opo mo. Sige na.
We're ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, before the break, the motion of the minority leader was to consider the proposed amendments, individual amendments of the minority leader as deemed submitted, and this consists of 120 pages. Now, in
130.
accordance, 130. In accordance with Section 82 of the rules, these amendments were submitted by the minority leader. Printed copies were given to the members of the Senate. So therefore, we are complying with Section 82. And the motion of the distinguished gentleman from Iloilo, I believe, is proper at the moment. So I will concur and have no objection to the motion that it be deemed submitted to the body, Mr.
And
President.
deemed read into the records.
Team
And
Red.
deemed read into the records, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, we will establish facts first, no? That according to rule, Section 82, no amendment by substitution shall be entertained unless the text thereof is submitted in writing. So, the text has been submitted to the Secretariat in writing. Is that confirmed?
Yes, Mr. President, as a matter of fact, all the members have been given copies as early as...
So we now proceed to the motion.
Earlier.
To the motion that the the amendments of Senator Drilon, which is spread over 130 pages, be deemed read into the records today, in today's session.
Yes.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, may we ask the Secretary to again furnish the members a copy so that we can tackle the other individual amendments of the other members of the Senate tomorrow. So in the meantime, with the permission of the minority leader, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 1280.
The motion is only to have it deemed read. So is there a
No motion to approve yet.
motion to
Mr.
approve yet? No?
May I propose, just for the record and easy proceed, if we can approve this, the Drilon amendments, these individual amendments, be deemed be approved, and then tomorrow, or the day after, or whenever it is called again for debates, we go again page by page as the approved amendments.
Yes, sir.
I withdraw my motion to suspend,
So,
Mr. President. Mr.
Can we
President.
recognize the minority leader to make the motion?
May I move, Mr. President, that the 130-page amendment by substitution be deemed approved without prejudice to the members of the chamber being allowed to go through the amendments page by page tomorrow for their own individual amendments, if any. That's our
Is
motion.
there any objection to the motion? The effect of the motion, if approved, is that henceforth, in the period of individual amendments for this measure, we will now be working on the on the measure as amended by Senator Drilon by substitution.
That's correct, sir.
That would be the effect if we carry his motion. Any objection to the motion? Senator Lacson?
Clarification, Mr. President. Would that include introducing amendments to the amendments introduced or as approved by the body today, as introduced by the minority leader?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Amendment is accepted.
So any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved and the measure is deemed amended by substitution.
Thank you.
Majority Leader?
Then after that, Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 1280.
Any objection? There being none, we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 1280.
Thank you. Mr. President, with the consent of the chamber, I move that PS Resolution number 335, which was earlier referred to the committee to the archives, be brought back to the floor, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that PS Resolution number 335 be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Any objection?
Hearing none, the motion is approved. Said measure is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. One more housekeeping chore, Mr. President. Last March 13, 2017, this representation made a manifestation based on the letter sent by Senator Laila de Lima, Chair of the Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, and the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System, to designate Senator Francis Pangilinan to be her vice chair to the said committees. As a reaction, Mr. President, Senator Gordon took to the floor to question the designation of Senator Pangilinan because he mentioned that he was designated before by as vice chairman of the said committees in August 1, 2016 by Senator de Lima. And he was in fact already scheduling upcoming hearings. So in his own words, Mr. President, Senator Gordon said, I quote, "I was wondering how it is that suddenly there will be another vice chairman." End of quote. And the gentleman from Zambales appealed that the matter be taken up with urgency. So, considering that the subject manifestation was then referred to the Committee on Rules for further review, I took time to study the matter, Mr. President, so I would like to report the outcome of our study. After going over the pertinent provisions of rules of the Senate and other precedents in the Committee Rules or Committee on Rules, we came up with the following findings and decisions. First, Mr. President, pursuant to Section 18, Rule 10 of the rules, the chairman of each committee may designate the vice chairman or such vice chairman of his committee. So in effect, the implication of the letter of Senator de Lima to designate Senator Francis Pangilinan as vice chair of the Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation and the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System is valid and binding. Second, on the statement of Senator Gordon, when he stated that suddenly there will be another vice chairman, it is the opinion of the committee, your committee chair of rules, that Senator Gordon was not being replaced as vice chair of the said committee, but instead, Senator Pangilinan was merely being added as another vice chair of the committee, as authorized in Section 18 of our rules. So as a result, therefore, Mr. President, the two committees shall be co-vice chaired by both Senator Gordon and Senator Pangilinan. So just to reiterate, the letter of Senator de Lima that was manifested last March 13, 2017, simply designating Senator Pangilinan to be the vice chair of the Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation and the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on Automated Election System without replacing its incumbent vice chair. So with that, as the second vice chair. So with that, Mr. President, I think I move that the letter of Senator de Lima be deemed approved by the body, Mr. President.
So do we move to, the motion is to approve the committee?
Yes,
the ruling
my
of the
motion
committee-
then was, which was questioned by Senator Gordon, was that Senator Pangilinan be designated as
Yes, yes.
vice chair of the committees mentioned.
So the Committee on Rules has made a ruling. Senator Dillon, the second.
Just for the record, we concur with the ruling of the chair of the Rules Committee, and we second the motion and join Senator Soto in the motion to adopt the committee, committee rules on rules report.
Mr. President, Senator Lacson pointed out that it would be best that if Senator Gordon was here, so that were here, so that before we formally approve it. But as I said, I place it on record that the letter of Senator de Lima, which was seconded, so
We can still defer action on the motion.
Just in case he wants to argue, as Senator Laxman said, but I don't think he would.
We can ask for a reconsideration tomorrow.
Oh, yes, in fact, well, I can.
You will.
Yes, Mr. President, may I have a 1-minute suspension?
Session is suspended. General, may naka-abroad. Si Gordon pala naka-abroad. Abroad na. I think he's in Switzerland. Ah, okay. So ano yung motion niya? Ano yung motion? Report sa atin na kung hindi sinigyan, okay lang yan. Diba to approve the report? Mag-speech. Sigurado ba yan? Six and Vice Chair. Suspend naman. You know what? Almost sure yan. Almost sure. Let's take it photo.
Parang ganun, parang ganun.
Pwede ba natin i-move agad?
Oo.
To check when it was approved. Kasi mali yung pangalan. Mali yung pangalan.
Hindi pa na-third reading.
Hindi pa. Okay lang.
May mali.
Better actually.
Approve ko lang on second reading.
Na-approve na on second, pero gusto ko i-reconsider.
Pwede yun, hindi na kailangan
mali
ng
yung
timetable yun. Pwedeng reconsider dahil hindi pa natin na-third reading. Anytime pwede.
Technically, pwede kasi na-approve yun kailan.
Second. Yun nga, you have to check it when it's pasok sa period.
Tapusin na muna natin to.
Paano kung hindi pasok sa period? Suspend the rules. We suspend the
Hindi.
rules.
Pwede yun.
Pwede pa rin.
Oh. Yung motion for reconsideration, second reading. Yung
You
bill,
can still reconsider it even if it's
hindi pa
outside
na-approve ang third reading.
Hindi pa
Na-approve on third reading.
Oh.
Oo, oo. Yeah, ano na pa rin. Ginawa natin yun.
Because we approved a bill of creating the barangay Kumawas Libera. But we looked at the Comelec record, Kumawas, the barangay that was created.
Meron bang house version?
House version.
You're saying already, combined ka.
Oo. Kung meron kayong kakaiba. Meron ba kayo? Meron ba? Ano ba kayo?
Baka hindi ko.
Ano ba kayo?
Wala. Ano nga?
Wala.
Tinatawag yun sila.
Kung supposed to meet pa kayo,
Ito na lang.
pwedeng doon lang. Hindi na kayo mag-meet, tinatanggap nila lahat.
Hindi, in-approve na po kasi local bill.
Oo.
Hindi. In-approve na nila at in-adopt natin dapat. Oh, in-adopt natin, no? Oh, in-adopt na natin. Ha?
Hindi pwede. Pero pwede natin balik.
No, we're the one correct. We're the one correct.
Ha? Ay.
Hindi mag-meet na talaga.
Hindi ba?
Maganda mag-meet na lang.
Hindi. Bakit sila mag-meet? Ano namang difference yung kanilang version?
Except,
Pareho mali.
Pareho mali.
kasi ito na lang. Tapos ito. Pwede mo suspend na. Sige.
Malaki yung problema.
We're ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
So, we reiterate, we call for the previous question, Mr. President. This is the approval of the report of the Committee on Rules, which was seconded by the Minority Leader. Now, just for the record, I talked to Senator Gordon on the phone, and I told him about the rules of the committee. He doesn't see any problem. And in fact, he would want to conduct some hearings as vice chair, but I know that the rules will have to, he will have to ask the permission of the chairman, Mr. President.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the report of the Committee on Rules on that particular issue. Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you. Mr. President, upon the request of Senator Ontiveros, after getting the approval of Senator Lacson, the principal author of Senate Bill 1369, entitled An Act Establishing Education and Skills Development Authority, TESTA, Regional Training Center in the Mimaropa region and appropriating funds therefore. With the consent of the body, I move that Senator Hontiveros be made co-author of Senate Bill 1369.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Ontiveros is co-author of the measure.
May I have a 1 minute suspension again, Mr. President?
Any objection? There being none, session is suspended.
Oh, yeah.
March 15, March 15.
Paalam na ako sa akin. Nag lang ako.
15, di ba? 15.
Basketball? Ay, volleyball. Hindi ko alam. Ateneo Lasal kanina. Sino nalo? First set Ateneo. First set pala. Lakas ng Ateneo.
Kasi, pwede rin hindi because the corporation inamend lang naman ang certain sections. Not the entire. Pwede rin ipasara yun lang. Ang mangyayari na, kung yun lang ang pinasa, pag binasa mo yung corporation, dalawang batas ang pinasa. Section 1 itong luma. Pagdating sa Section 6, itong bago. Section 7, itong bago. Section 10, basa ka itong luma. So, ang ginawa,
Same sections.
same section, pinagsama. Para paglabas, isa lang.
Easier done. Nakakagulo eh. Saan na punta ka? Ibang section na, di ba? Ibang section na. Ay, nakakalito nga.
Yung section, there's two sections. Kung hindi mo kinuha, sections 1 mas mabasa, 16 ako basahin. Sa section 6, ako basahin is the new law. Section 7, 8, 9. Pagdating sa section 10, ito naman yung basahin. So, kung hindi mo kinuha, ang mangyayari, Rex Russo will print out and then will say, okay, section 1, section 6, we have ipagsama sa so yun ang approach.
More organized. Okay. Tuloy. Dadakit na ako.
Antay ko lang yung staff ko.
Creative ng barangay.
Oo, kasi it's a different thing.
Paano na kung saan? Sino na nag-scoop?
Staff ko.
We're ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President,
Pwede pa.
there was a measure before the break of the Senate that we passed on second reading, but had a wrong spelling, Mr. President. So we just found out. With the unanimous consent of the chamber, Mr. President, I move that we reconsider the approval on second reading of House Bill 4682.
So there is a motion to reconsider our
The approval on second reading.
our approval on second reading of House Bill number 4682. Any objection?
Just a quick,
Senator Dillon is recognized.
just as an inquiry, parliamentary inquiry, we have a provision in our rules that a motion for reconsideration can be filed within 48 hours.
Two session days, Mr.
From these
President.
2 session days.
2 session days.
2 session days from the time the vote was taken, provided the movant voted affirmatively. May we know what is the effect of this motion now of the majority leader on this rule?
The motion, Mr. President, I made it a fact, or I made sure that I predicated it with the unanimous consent of the chamber, because it is beyond the 2 session days of the rules, Mr. President. And the practice and the tradition in the Senate is that if it is with unanimous consent, we may be able to bend the rules a little on the reconsideration portion, Mr. President.
So in effect, Mr. President, we are suspending that particular provision.
Yes, Mr. President.
We have no objection. If that is so, then we are moving to suspend the rules in order to recall the approval on second reading, so that the premise is suspension of the rules.
Of Section 91 only, Mr.
Section
President.
91.
Yes, yes. That is the net effect of the motion, Mr. President.
So that in the future, Mr. President, if there is an objection to the suspension of the rules, that the reconsideration cannot be
No.
entertained after 2 session days.
Absolutely, Mr. President. The minority leader is right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
May we know the reason why we are
We are reconsidering
yes, what
approval.
has been misspelled and what are the other errors?
May we recognize the sponsor, Chairman of the Committee on Law and Government, Mr. President, to answer the question,
Senator
Mr.
Angara
President.
is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader and Minority Leader. Mr. President, the reason is the staff found out upon checking with the COMELEC, their records show the creation of a barangay Comawas with an O and not Kumawas, because this is an existing barangay which we are just creating bylaws so as to entitle it to the internal revenue allotment. So we were told that if we create a bill with a different name, then you would have to go through the plebiscite again. But it's already an existing barangay.
So the correct spelling is C-O-M-A-W-A-S.
Yes, it's just one letter actually, Mr. President. It's U, changing U to A to O.
Oh, yes,
So
okay.
that is, if I may formally propound it, if this is the right time, then I'm ready to, Mr.
So that's the only reason?
Not yet, Mr. President. Not yet.
Okay,
But
so-
if the Senate President is satisfied with the answer,
Yes.
therefore and the motion has already been approved. That
No, not
we-
yet, not yet.
I call for the previous question, Mr. President.
So there is a motion now that we reconsider our second reading approval of House Bill number 4682.
Yes.
Okay, the majority leader is telling us that this is beyond the time period in Section 91. That's why we need your consent. So if there is no objection, hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to open the period of individual amendments for House Bill 4682.
There is a motion now to consider House Bill number 4682 and open the period for individual amendments. Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
May we recognize the sponsor, Mr. President, Senator Angara?
Senator Angara is recognized.
Thank you again, Mr. President, Majority Leader and distinguished Minority Leader for allowing this amendment. The first is an omnibus amendment, if it may be allowed, Mr. President, for all the references to the word kumawas with a U to be replaced with kumawas with an O. There are references on page 1, line 1, page 1, line 2, page 1, line 4, page 2, line 5, page 2, line 10, and page 2, line 17. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, the second amendment is on page 2, line 6, to replace, it's a factual correction, to replace the date November 13, 1996, pertaining to the date of issuance of the Certificate of Canvass of Votes for and proclamation by the Plebiscite Board of Canvassers of the plebiscite to ratify the creation of Barangay Kumawas. It was stated erroneously that it was September 9, 1996. The date should be November 13, 1996. I so move. It's a simple change of date, Mr. President, to reflect the what actually transpired.
November 13, 1996. That's a correct date.
Yes.
Any objection? Yeah, but, in my copy, I read na November 13, 1996.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I made a mistake. The correction is to replace November 13 with September 9, 1996.
With that clarification now, the amendment is to reflect the true date of the certificate issued by the Presidential Plebiscite Board of Canvassers. September 9, 1996, to replace November 13, 1996. Any objection?
Correct, Mr. President.
Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last is the title. And again, it is the change of the name of Kumawas with a U to Kumawas with an O. So move.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. No other individual amendments. Thank you once more.
Mr. President, I move to close the period of individual amendments on House Bill 4682.
Any objection? Hearing none, we close the period for individual amendments.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 4682, Barangay Kumawas in the city of Bislig, province of Surigao del Sur, on second reading.
Any objection? There being none, the measure creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Kumawas in the city of Bislig, province of Surigao del Sur, House Bill number 4682 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, May 3, 2017.
Is there any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, May 3, 2017.